Hi everyone, I'm Jim and I'm an alcoholic. Guess the first announcement is my sobriety date is August 10th, 1991. And if you want to count, it's 25 years and 2 months today. And I didn't do it alone. My experience, strength, and hope. Okay, we'll start from the very beginning. I preface this by saying I was born at a very young age, so. And it happened to be the Sunday after Pearl Harbor. And my mother said I was the second catastrophe of the week. My father took one look at me, signed up, and he went to Europe. So I had some, self-esteem issues as a child. Not really. Actually, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, in a predominantly Irish Catholic neighborhood, and I think half of the neighborhood I was related to, between my mother's family and my father's family, cousins and uncles and aunts and whatnot, and we were kind of close-knit. Everyone took care of each other. My dad was an alcoholic from the get-go. And I don't have a lot of memories of doing things with my dad. He came back from the war, and obviously I was 3-4 years old when I met him. But he was always out at the local bar. We knew where he was. He was in the bar. When he wasn't working, and when he was working, he drove a Wrangle truck. So he was, not around much. He passed away when I was 13 of cirrhosis, and he basically bled to death on the living room floor in my apartment. I was not home at the time. That left us with my mother, and I had an older brother and a younger sister. So my mother, she did, I think, a great job with what she had. We had to have a lot of help from my aunt and uncle, because we basically didn't have anything. We lived in the same apartment for 24 years. Everybody by that time had moved out of the neighborhood, but we stayed there. And my brother was a little cut up. He got caught more than I did, I guess you could say. But basically, my childhood was the way I remember it, a lot of fun. It was mostly outside the house. It had to do with playing sports. We had there were more kids lived on my block than in all of Levittown at the time, which is a community in Long Island where my aunt lived. So we weren't hurting for friends, we weren't hurting for activities, and I didn't have to spend a lot of time in the house. My mother was alcoholic, but she worked, and like I said, she did the best she could, and I loved her dearly. And I struggled in school as a youngster. I had, went to remedial reading and some things like that, and it basically, they said the reason was that I needed eyeglasses, and I really couldn't see the blackboard, so I didn't know what we were supposed to be learning. But anyway, that turned around. In our neighborhood, you're supposed to go to you graduate from the Catholic grammar school, and you go to a Catholic high school, and that's it. And my grades weren't really up to snuff for most of the Catholic schools, but I was able to win a scholarship to Rice High School in Harlem, and it was for track, and they let me in, and I did very poorly there. Matter of fact, a funny story. they had parents-teachers meeting, and the science teacher was talking to my mother and said that I had to do, buckle down. I wasn't getting good grades, whatever. And she said, well, that's it. No more running track until he gets his grades up. I'm going to take him home. And he goes, no, Mrs. Mannix, you can't do that. He needs to be there. He needs that activity. I never told her that he was the track coach. So I got away with that one. Anyway, I also played baseball and basketball. And I switched to another school closer to home, again on a scholarship, and everything just turned around. I did extremely well in that school, and lo and behold, they suggested I go to college. Unheard of in my family, but so I signed up. I said, okay, and I went to St. Francis College in Brooklyn, and I played. They didn't have a track team, so I played baseball and basketball there, and things were great. Joined the fraternity. It was a commuter school. I just took the bus, or if it was getting near the weekend, I would walk to school to save some of my money for date night. I did work at the college for $1 an hour, but and I did all right. I did okay. Graduated in 4 years and went off to the business world. Purposes. I did not drink until when I was 16, my brother got married. I had to toast at his wedding. I drank a glass of champagne. Did not have another drink until my 18th birthday, when a couple of the fellas in my freshman class at school took me to a bar for a beer. So, and I've never taken an illegal drug or abused prescription drugs. I am basically your garden vegetable drunk. That's what I was. I didn't start out that way. I was an accountant by profession, and I met my wife after I graduated from school. Graduated in June. I met Maureen in September. On and off again for a year, and then we got together. And just to tell you what a small world it is, it turns out that I never knew her before. Our fathers played basketball together when they were kids. They were in the National Guard together, and Maureen's sister graduated from grammar school with me. So it was pretty, tight-knit neighborhood. My drinking started a little bit in college, but not a lot, because I wasn't a great student. I had to study, to get passing grades, and of course you had to stay academically able in order to play ball, and so that's what I did. And I drink at frat parties, a few beers and stuff like that, but never had anything spectacular. I didn't have to worry about DWIs because I didn't have a car. Unlike some people I know. But after I got married, my drinking picked up, and so did my career. And there's really, to my way of thinking, two sections to my alcoholism. There was the first section, which I started drinking, at night, maybe a couple of beers at lunch. After we bought a house, we were married for, I think 4.5 years, 5 years when we bought our first house, and we didn't have any children at that point. So, life was good. I took a commuter train, and we used to, have a few beers on the train on the way home. And then I'd get home and have a martini or so, whatever. And it was kind of weird that I never considered beer drinking. Some people would have a soda, I would have a beer, and that's the way I thought of it. And I didn't particularly hide the fact that I was drinking or how much I was drinking in the beginning. As we had Kevin 1 year, and my wife is a school teacher, so she stopped working when we had our first child, and then money became a little bit of an issue because we had a mortgage and all that other good stuff, and we down to one salary, and I wasn't making a hell of a lot of money. 2 years later, we had our second son, and Maureen was still not working. She worked summer school. She did do what the heck? Help me out there, Maureen. Substitute teaching. There you go. She did some substitute teaching, to help out with the bills and whatnot. And I kept changing jobs and getting a little bit more money and more money. And as I did that, I drank more and more. And I didn't stray too much, like stay out at night or hang out in the bar in the neighborhoods or anything like that in the early going. So I was home. Sometimes I was there when I was home. Sometimes I wasn't there when I was home. But I was basically around. Then I went to Wall Street and got some. I started to make some decent money, and I worked for a guy who made me look like a pauper when it came to drinking. And I lost that job because of drinking and some mistakes I made, and he was able to cover his butt by firing me, and that was a bitter pill to swallow. But I was able to get another job pretty quickly. For some reason, I interviewed well, and I started working at a bank. I was really starting to drink real heavily then. A couple of martinis at lunch and things of that nature. So after a couple of years of that, while I was working at the bank, my mother got sick, and she had developed cancer throughout her system, but she never went to the doctor because she drank and she didn't know she was sick and whatever, and it was kind of sad because we couldn't really bring the kids to her, and she was thinking, I didn't know any better, so I just went along with not seeing her and whatever. She went into the hospital right after my brother's two children graduated from high school, and the hospital was right around the corner from where I was working, so I would go to see her every day. And tell a funny story about her. This is the type of woman she was. She said, they're talking about giving me a hysterectomy. I said, Mom, calm down. You can't jump there. You have to get stronger. You have to really see what the doctors say down the road when you're young. She says, do you know what a hysterectomy is? I said, yeah, I do. She says, no, you don't. She says, that's when they take out the baby carriage and they leave in the playpen. I said, Mother, please. And it turned out that it's about 2 days later, she was really looking for permission to die. And I was talking to her, and I told her how, I'm fine, and my brother's fine, and the kids are good. And, my sister is okay. She has a boyfriend now, or whatever. So the next day she passed, and it was kind of sad. I don't know that she knew I was a drunk, but she certainly didn't see me sober. So now after this job, I got a chance to go to a great firm on Wall Street through connections from my neighborhood, and it was the oldest government bond dealer in the country, and I went in as an accountant, chief accountant, and they said, you'll be the controller, as soon as the controller retires, just keep your nose clean. And at that point, it was 8 years after my son had been born, and Maureen had our third child, a daughter, and I had been really drinking heavily then. I thought everything was fine. As a matter of fact, I had to have a couple of drinks to go in for the interviews, so I wouldn't be shaking. And I developed pancreatitis. Now, there have been, portions of the story, that are skipping over, obviously, but there were many times when I knew I shouldn't be drinking. I should have known that I should stop, but I never wanted to address it myself. I just wanted to drink, I wasn't breaking any laws. I was over 21. I was only drinking alcohol. I thought that was fine. And I, in my sick mind, thought I was only hurting myself. But anyway, I get pancreatitis. They put me in the hospital. Fortunately, a couple of days, 10 days later, they let me out, and they said, fine. They said, it could be from drinking, it could be from your gallbladder. We don't know, just, stay off it. So I was going to a golf outing a couple of weeks after I got out, and I said, a couple of months, I'm sorry. I said, well, that's it. They didn't tell me what it was, so I can drink. So I started drinking, and this went on from April to December of the same year. And it looked like, in retrospect, I was on a suicide mission, the way I was drinking. Just continually, from noon on, I mean, I would make excuses. I'd go to the store, and I was the only one to hang a picture. It took three trips to the store. And of course, there was a bar between the store and where I lived. But I developed pancreatitis again, and this time they gave me the last rites. I don't think my wife remembers this, but I was told that the doctor told her that they found some blood in my alcohol system, and I should probably slow down. I got out of there. The firm was great to me. I mean, they told me to take as much time off as you want, which I didn't do. And when I told them that I couldn't drink, they said, well, that's okay, you can always smoke pot. But I never did. But that was their attitude. I stopped drinking for a while, and I don't know how long I stopped. Okay, I know it was, I believe it was a few years. But from that time on, when I stopped, everything turned around for me. The job went even better than I could expect. I was given more opportunities. I was given huge raises, huge bonuses. Life was great. Joined the country club, 2 cars in the garage, and everybody thought I was a hero, and, oh, he's not drinking anymore. Isn't that wonderful, And I wallowed in it. I just loved it. And then now enters the second, more serious phase of my drinking career. The company asked me to go to San Francisco to check out another company that one of our subsidiaries wanted to do business with. I was supposed to let them know if we should do business with them or not. So I went to Chicago that night, found out what the deal was, and flew out to San Francisco. This firm only allowed you to fly first class. I mean, if from New York to Toronto or New York to Chicago, had to be first class because you're liable to meet some of the people we do business with. So I'm sitting in first class next to this guy who's about like that. And he's drinking bourbons like they're going out of style. And I like bourbon. There wasn't too many things I didn't like, by the way. But then it came time to serve the meal. And then after this guy's had about 4 million calories of bourbon, he orders the dietetic salad for dinner. And I'm ordering the steak and whatnot. And I ordered, for whatever reason, a glass of port wine. I don't think I ever had port wine before. But I drank it, and nothing happened. I got off the plane, I went up to the St. Francis Hotel, had a rotating bar at the top of it. You know, you can see all of downtown San Francisco, I guess. So I went up there and had a couple of martinis, and went back to my room, and guess what? I didn't die. Well, I guess I can do this. And now it became the dilemma, because I'm a huge hero at home for not drinking and doing things, at least in my own mind, okay? So what am I going to do about this one? I'll only drink when I travel. Okay, so over the next 2-3 years, I became one of the top 3% of all flyers on American Airlines. I had more miles than now. I was the assistant controller at the time. I did become controller before they caught on. I was going to some really cool places. I was going to Tokyo, Singapore, Hong Kong, England, Toronto, places where you could really do and see things. And the only thing I saw was the inside of the bar and the inside of the mini bar in my room. And it never had one item questioned on my expense reports. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So then what basically happened, I was now deteriorating morally, because I knew that I wasn't doing what I should be doing. I wasn't the person that I should be. So, and then it came to the point where I couldn't not drink. I couldn't wait for another trip to go on. I had to start drinking around, and that's when I started sneaking it. I was introduced to morning drinking, which was really kind of stupid. And then, people were catching on. I mean, it was, I didn't know it, but, or I wouldn't admit it, but my wife knew, the kids started to know. But I was still, relatively functional. And that I went to work. I was doing great at work. I got promoted to controller. Responsibilities, just were fantastic. I mean, it was just, who had it better than me? Except I wasn't living my life. I was turning my back on everything that I valued. And again, I'm a kid that really never got into trouble. I was just a goody two-shoes. Most mothers would love to have me date their daughters, except my mother-in-law in the beginning. She must have known something. She did come around though, right, Maureen? Yeah. With that, I sort of, here was my routine after this. Now I had to say, I coached all my kids in basketball. I even coached my daughter's at my daughter's school when she went to junior high. But I would drink before I go to coach, and the parents would would smell it. And of course I would deny. And I got into a routine where I would always pride myself on being the first one to work in the morning into the office. So I would get to the office by 6:30, 6:45, start to read the Wall Street Journal and have my coffee. And by 7:30, I knew where a bar was open. And the sign was, if the flag was out, the bar was open. and I would go there. About 7:30, be there. There'd be like 3 or 4 people there in the bar, and I drank till 9 o'clock, and then work my way back to the office. And if I didn't have to go to lunch with somebody, I would just go out and have a couple of drinks, and we have free lunch in the office, and I come back and eat and get on with my day, and then start drinking on the way home, and then trying to figure out a way to sneak a few drinks at night, and thought I was getting away with it, and I wasn't. I mean, it was the gig was up. One of the saddest moments, I think, in my during this period was I was in Tokyo, and I invited my wife to come to fly out and spend a couple of days in Tokyo, and then she could fly home, and I would go on to Singapore and Hong Kong. And she was able to arrange her schedule and took my my mileage and came to Tokyo. When she arrived, I was totally bombed out of my gourd. And oh no, you have to. And then went up to the room, and I forgot that every morning they would list the chits from what was consumed in the mini bar, and there's no denying that. There's nobody else in the room, and that was terrible, because that room could have been a great trip for my wife and myself. We did do a couple of trips. Saw some things there which I never would have seen anyway, but it was very sad. One of the biggest regrets in my life. But those are the type of things that the drink was doing for me. You know, I didn't want to drink, but I had to drink, and I didn't analyze it. I never tried to stop, slow down. I know a lot of people when they come into recovery, they say, well, I would stop. I would switch from, beer to wine to this to that. I never even considered that. Nor did I ever consider the fact that that I was an alcoholic. Despite the fact my brother had been in recovery for a couple of years and went out, but my parents were alcoholic, so I never addressed the subject for myself. So I could help anybody, but I wasn't about to ask the question, I'm an alcoholic, but I don't care. No, I didn't care. It's not like I didn't care. I couldn't care. I was totally consumed with alcohol, from getting up in the morning to going to bed at night. And I was in Toronto one night. A couple of days, I used to go out and tour 3 or 4 of our subsidiary firms before I went on my 3-week vacation. We had 6 weeks vacation. You had to take 3 in a row. And I had gone out the night before and really got bombed. I was at the airport in the morning. I was going to upstate New York to meet my family to start the vacation, and I ran into one of the members of the board of directors of our company, who happened to have he was the treasurer of Ford Motor Company, and he saw me, and he said, how you doing? I said, yeah. It's a rough night. I was out getting ready, for the audit, just surprise audit and whatnot. They're all bull crap, and apparently he went to management, and they called in one of the partners for Pete Molick, who was the partner on our job, who we would go golfing together on business meetings. We go to his club, he goes to my club, then we go to the treasurer's club and all that stuff. And he never saw me drink, even though we spent a lot of time together. So they called him in and wanted to know how much I drank when when we were out, and he could honestly say, I never saw him drink. I said, we've been out to dinners and whatnot. After dinner, go to the bar, he'd have a soda or something. And he even came to me and he says, what are they talking about? I said, wow. I said, I was really tired. I'd been working all night and I met him up there. I guess that's what triggered it, lying through my teeth. So I got away with that for a little while, and then push came to shove, and they decided that I'm going too fast, decided I should go to a rehab. So I said, well, that's not a good idea, but they said, well, you're going. I went to the rehab. I had no intention of stopping drinking. I got on a plane. They sent me home, and I had to wait to go to a fancy rehab. So one opened up in Florida. I flew down to Florida, but I got up to the desk and I switched my flight from coach to first class, and so I could drink on the plane. Got off the plane and found the bar at the airport, and basically sometime later poured myself into a cab to get there. And it was 3 days before I was even conscious there. And it was a country club, and I learned a few things, but I spent more time on the phone, and and I never really it dawned on me, what did I do to get to this point? But anyway, so I got home from there and I started drinking almost immediately, even though I was in theoretically going to group therapy. They caught me and I got fired. So, that's the basic thing. Now, during the year that I was, that was in September, I guess that was in August of '90, and I got a nice package, and they let me go, and I got full salary for 11 months, and it was like all I could do was drink day in and day out, and obviously the family life had deteriorated. My son had a son in college and a son in junior year of high school, and then my daughter was still in grammar school. And the push came to shove, circumstances being what they were, I was confronted by my wife and kids, and I thought it was out of love. Was I wrong? But it was like, you don't have to go to rehab, but you can't stay here. And a funny thing happened is that one of my son's classmates, his dad was in the program, and he had come down to talk to them because I guess my son was telling him about me. And they took me to a hospital Friday night, and they were just going to leave me and detox, whatever, and then figured the detox would send me off to whatever facility they wanted. But there were no beds, and as disgusted as my wife was with me, and basically finished with me, and it was unfortunately 3 months after our 25th wedding anniversary. I was on a gurney out in the hall, and she said no, she couldn't leave me there. So they brought me back home, and somebody made some phone calls. I have no clue, because at that point I was clueless of anything going on. They got me into this place upstate New York in Arms Acres, and that's where the journey began. That was the turning point. I went to there. I was a basket case for the first few days. I got in, and the counselors told me I was lying. I was full of crap. I was never going to get sober. Nothing's going to happen. So, and I didn't know. I was half crazed anyway. And then there was this. I think she was the next nun, I swear. And she told me how I prayed. She says, I know you. You lie down in bed and you say the Our Father, Hail Mary, glory be to the Father, and hope you pass out before you finish. I said, that's about right. So she said, well, why don't you get on your knees, ask God for help. So I said, all right, I can do that. So I went in and I knelt down on the floor before I went to bed, and I said, God, please, help me. And I heard him say yes, and I heard a little piece of light come through, that I was told from the Franciscans that nothing is hopeless. You always have a little bit of hope. And that was it for me. Now, the next morning I got up and I got down on my knees again. So I wanted to check this out. I didn't want to rush into anything. I got down on my knees again and asked the same question, and I heard the same answer. So now immediately I'm on cloud nine. See, I have a chance. And so I announced it in the middle of this big room with the counselor who had been calling me a liar and whatever. And I said, I really think I have a chance at this. I really have a shot. And he started to tell me how full of crap I was, and not in so many words, maybe just a little more vulgar. And I looked at him and I said, it doesn't matter what you say or think. What matters is what I think. And I think I can. And I spent the rest of that rehab in self-examination and trying to figure out what happened. How did this little kid from Brooklyn, the little redheaded kid that everybody liked, wind up like this? I mean, a total nothing. That's exactly what I was. And I got out. My wife took me back. I don't know that was all of the counselors agreed with that, but that's what happened. And I just started over. I had a great one-on-one counselor who I only went to 3 times. And he was in recovery himself. And he said, Jim, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I said, I don't need to see you anymore. He said, if you have a problem, give me a call. And he sent me off. And that made me just feel so good. And I was involved in the program, and I was starting to get better. But that was nice. The real facts are that I was unemployable. I still hadn't worked in over a year now, or just about a year, and my reputation was shot on Wall Street. The government bond business is a very tight-knit business. When you get to a certain level, everybody knows you and everybody knows your business. So I had to start over again, and working with a sponsor and going to meetings and whatnot. And I went to meetings every day. I was told, just keep working, do what you have to do. And I would send out resumes, and I wouldn't hear anything. I took a job doing tax returns for $20 an hour, and when I get 25 hours a week for a short period of time. And but I did it. I said, I had to do that. I had to take those steps. And when I did that, amazingly, I started to make better decisions, and I was better able to comport myself. My home life got better. I was able to resume or assume, or anyway, do what I originally did, was become a husband and a father. Okay, and I know it's not very popular, but when my kids, I talked to my kids about drinking, and driving, and told them they shouldn't do it. I never took never felt like I didn't have the right to say that, just because when I was in the throes of my alcoholism, I didn't act that way, okay? But now I was acting responsible, and I know that I could never have lived with myself if I just said, well, let them experiment, everybody goes through it, and something happened. So I didn't do that, and knock on wood, none of my kids have gotten into any trouble with alcohol yet. Who knows? But they're grown now and whatnot. Then one job left to another job. Now, here's the thing. My family life and my AA life were now really in sync. I was able to go to my meetings, participate at home, and still search out jobs. And for me, my career built up again. And I started to get a better job and a better job. And all of a sudden, I was back in finance and banking. And what happened, somebody asked me to join the Hong Kong team to put in an accounting system for Chase Bank. Now, I had been a consultant there. They had to hire me because of situations which nobody needs to know. And I got to start to travel again. The same places that I went to, okay? I went to Toronto, I went to England, I went to Hong Kong, I went to Singapore, and spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. The difference between the first time I was able to do that and this time was that I was in AA, I was doing AA the best that I knew how to do it, and I was going to meetings. I have at home, I basically had a home group in Hong Kong, which is kind of funny, and they even had I have the steps and the preamble in Mandarin at home, because the cards they gave me. I got to speak at meetings in London. They never asked me to speak in Hong Kong, but they couldn't understand me anyway, probably. Nor can probably half of you are Southerners. But that's just the key. Now, through circumstances or whatever, I was able to finish my career, retire. More importantly, now the kids are out of the house. My wife was now, had been for the last 20 years at least, working full-time as a teacher, but she was able to get off, the summers and whatnot, and she could come with me to Hong Kong. Spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. She went to Singapore, spent a lot of time in London. And we did things. We saw things. We took trips, and she dragged me. We played golf all around the world. I mean, played golf in mainland China. It was unbelievable. In Singapore, in Hong Kong, in England, Bournemouth, London, all these places, because I wasn't drinking, because I was now doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I take credit for doing what I did, okay? But because I had to. But what I do know is that I could not do it on my own. I didn't do it alone. I had to have my family behind me, which they were and they still are. I needed to have AA behind me. I had to have people who understood the importance of not drinking, the importance of continually going to meetings. I'm not a big book thumper or anything like that. I try to keep it as simple as possible, because that's the way I started and that's the way I learned. Now I can tell you, every day for 25 years, except when I was in the hospital for surgeries and I couldn't get out of bed, I get on my knees every morning and ask God to remove the urge to drink from me. And every night I get on my knees and I say thank you. And that doesn't take a lot of time. And I have a regular program that I do to the best of my ability. It generally consists of 3 meetings a week. And I do that. I have a couple of sponsees. Sorry for them, but that's it. And who has it better than me? I mean, it's just amazing. I'm down here from Long Island. I'm living in Pinehurst. I'm playing golf 3 days a week. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Have my family with me. It's just a great life, and I owe it all to the program and to the people in my life, even the people who saw the worst in me when I was at my depths, saw me come around and, started to encourage me to, to keep going and do it. And it took a lot. It takes, I gotta go. It takes a lot of encouragement in the beginning to keep going. It's like, we have to be patted on the back for doing what we're supposed to be doing, okay? But it's dangerous not to pat us on the back because we're not used to it. I was up last week in Long Island. I went down to my home group, celebrated my 25th anniversary with them. And there was a guy there who was celebrating, I think he was 17 years. And he said, now I change my underwear every day. Now I brush my teeth in the morning. I take a shower. And, that sounds like so stupid, right? Especially if somebody has 17 years. But what he's telling us, is that these are the things he didn't do when he was drinking. These are the things he's most proud of, okay? And, God bless him. He's great AA. And I just like to finish with something. I have a 30-page report that I want to give you. Not really, it's only 31. Okay, if you remember Megan, the gal who overdosed and died up in Vass a few months back, okay? And I read an article in the Pilot, probably everybody else read it, but two things really stuck out to me. And one was she said, "Congrats to myself, 6 months. If no one else is proud of me, I am." That's sad to a certain extent because it sounded to me like nobody else was helping her, that nobody else was encouraging her, saying, hey, great going. 6 months is a hell of a long time to be without a drug or a drink. It really is. And that touched me. But this is for the non-alcoholics here, okay? What she wrote on her blog is it gives me chills. Don't hate the person, hate the behavior. If it is hard to watch, imagine how hard it is to live it. And, I never thought of that until I read that. And it just struck home, we were in such denials. We were so bad, doing bad things, that we're bad people. To have to say that. And I hope that people who are living with active alcoholics or people who are living with people in early recovery who are, it's still fresh in your mind what they did. Think about that. It's harder for them to live with it than it was for you to see it. Thanks for letting me share.